Hello everybody, welcome back to Stargirl Society, the podcast that inspires you to reclaim your power and start living the life of your dreams. I'm your host, Phoebe Goldsmith, and if you're new here, we'd love to have you. If you like today's episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can give it a review if you would like. And without further ado, let's get into this week's episode. So in this week's episode, I'm going to be answering your dilemmas. I mentioned this in a few recent episodes and also over on my Instagram at Stargirl Society Pod for you guys to send in what you want advice for. It's all well and good me doing what I think you want, but I think it's also really nice as a way to connect to you to directly answer what's on your mind at the moment. It's also been an extremely long time since I've done any kind of question and answer situation, and I can continue to do them if you guys like them. The first question we have is how to overcome insecure attachment / jealousy in a relationship. And here is what I will say. If you are not currently in a relationship, but you find yourself constantly being jealous when in them, do not get into one for the time being. If you're already in one and you're finding yourself being jealous, I'm not just going to tell you to break up with them because that's not realistic. But I'll give you an answer for both situations. If you are already in a relationship and you feel jealousy, you feel insecure in it, there's going to be one of two reasons why. Number one, it's something within you that needs to be worked on, or number two, something your partner is doing is activating a very normal reaction out of you. I'm all for owning your own reactions to things, understanding where you need to grow, but sometimes we are having a very normal reaction to being with someone that isn't trustworthy. It can also be really hard, I think, once you're balls deep into a relationship to figure out if your worries are rational or not, because your whole idea of reality and rational thinking goes completely out the window. That being said, is your partner doing something or is it you? If your partner has cheated in the past, whether that be on you or on someone else, if there is an actual communication breakdown on their end, or maybe you're being told, don't worry, you pressure me too much, blah, 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 when it's actually just basic communication that they're lacking, I would probably say that you are having a normal reaction to someone's lack of communication, to someone's past. Whereas if you feel like you are jealous and insecure in your relationship when the other person has given you no reason to feel like that, and they are everything you would ever want and you can't understand why you were doing that, we're probably looking at a couple of different things relating to your inner child. First one being that at some point you have learned that love is pain, to love is to be hurt, and your nervous system is in survival mode no matter who it is you are around. Or maybe as a child you had a lot of inconsistencies, you couldn't predict what was coming next. Maybe at some point in your life you had a big surprise about something or someone that you believed you trusted. That is also going to come out to play even if the person is healthy for you. What I think is the key thing is communication with your partner. If you are noticing these feelings coming up, do not gaslight yourself. It's okay to feel the way you feel. And whether it's a them problem or a you problem, do not downplay the way you feel. It is something that can be worked through when there is healthy communication. If you're constantly looking at who he's following, questioning what he's doing, who he's with, you have to ask yourself, why do you feel like somebody is going to leave you for someone else? Why do you feel like maybe there's a prettier girl that could catch his eye? You don't trust him, or you don't trust in yourself. If your partner doesn't respond well to you trying to communicate how you're feeling and what you're going through, red flag. There is only so much you can do to a point where you just have to realize that if you just cannot get out of your head that they might cheat on you or they might find someone else more attractive, then maybe they are not the person for you. This is coming from a girl who has had both healthy attachments in my life and very unhealthy attachments in my life. And the healthy ones, I know those people don't activate the jealous side of me, the toxic side of me, whereas I'm taking responsibility for it, but certain men will activate that within you. Some men will allow it to stay dormant. That is what I would say about that topic. The next question is how to balance everything, especially having a good self-care and sleep routine with uni. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, because it was probably one of the biggest things I struggled with at uni is the balance between having nights out and also sleeping well, keeping up with assignments and staying mentally sane. Some people are built for uni lifestyle. They can go out 3-4 times a week, not really mentally be affected by that. Some people can't. But some people want to be having all that fun and can have all that fun, but then also is a person that needs a lot of TLC. That's me. I'm assuming that's what this person is also saying. Remember that you are also a person and not just a student. You're spending 3 years as a student, but those 3 years you are also growing as a person. You don't just suddenly not need TLC, time to yourself, because you're a student. I would say do not stress about missing out. Instead, put your well-being as a top priority and your sleep as a top priority, and you will actually see how everything else falls into place and you can have more fun. In my 3rd year, I decided I'm sorting my sleep out, I'm sorting my uni work out. When I sorted my sleep out, I naturally had more energy. When I had more energy, I got more uni work done on time. When I got more uni work done on time, I could go out more. And I only realized that in 2nd term of 3rd year, but I really hope that helps. Put yourself first, choose feeling good in yourself over choosing FOMO, and see how actually everything will then work in your favor. That's how I found the balance. Somebody said how your gut is linked to your mind and ways to recenter yourself and thoughts, etc. So admittedly, learning about gut health is something that's been at the top of my list for so long. I will get back to you on that. I really want to properly learn about it and then make an episode about it, because it feels like something that would really align with what I talk about, what I think about the mind-body connection. And I think it would also massively help me in my own life. So we'll put a bookmark in that one. But she also said ways to recenter yourself and your thoughts. I think the best way to recenter yourself is to build up a really strong self-concept. In our minds, think about this vast space that we're in, and then think about a temple as your self-concept. If you don't build this temple yourself, when you feel lost, how are you going to see where to go? How are you going to know where to go? Whereas when you have a strong self-concept, this temple, you know where it is, you know how to get back to it, and it's a safe place for you to feel, and it's a safe place for you to be. Does that make sense? You can't recenter yourself if you don't know where your center is, if your mind doesn't have a home. And that is why things like change is really hard for us. New emotions are really hard for us, because we're lost in a world where maybe we don't know who we are, we don't know ourselves. And that's why that feeling is so scary, because we can't find our way back to something that doesn't exist if there's been change or something new. So in the wider picture of recentering ourselves, we have to look at spending time with ourselves, listening to ourselves, understanding ourselves, all the way from our morals down to what color shoes we like to wear, which sounds irrelevant, but when you are in moments and periods of your life where you do feel lost and you do feel distressed, the first and the most consistent place to come back to is your morals, is the way you feel about things. It's the extent to which you know yourself. Understanding that, you can then use that to figure out how to move forward. If you are in a physical state of anxiety, or you are really emotionally dysregulated, how do we recenter ourselves in those situations? The typical advice would be to do a box breathing method, to ground yourself. I don't know about you guys, but I always found that scarier. If I was on the verge of a panic attack, or if I was having a panic attack, coming back to my senses felt like a threat. Don't ask me why. If you get it, you get it, but it just makes things feel more real to me, I think. For me, I like to bring myself back down to earth slowly, as opposed to just going straight back into the present moment through my senses. So doing something active with my hands, like cooking or eating a comfort food. Sometimes I'll message a friend, like focus on something completely different. Sometimes as well, I'll turn my phone off, because I can just become really erratic. And where my brain exists when I'm on my phone is like not what I need when I'm in a panic. It's something that I am still working on, especially with ADHD. It can be really hard to center yourself. I would also say that meditation and breath work helps me in those moments, but not like doing it in those moments. Practicing it on the daily when I feel calm then helps me when I don't feel calm, because that's the one thing that's helped me come back to my body in a not scary way. So maybe practice centering techniques when you're not actually stressed, so that in the moment it doesn't feel terrifying. Another question is how to journal properly to heal yourself. I think there's many ways you can do this, but the 2 ways that I have found most helpful to journal for healing are as follows. Number 1, drop the act when you're journaling. I have this weird thing that I can't even be honest with myself when I'm journaling. I don't even want to write down or say what I'm actually thinking because I don't want it to be real. I feel like if I write it down, I'm like, I have to confront it. So sometimes even my journal entries are like me keeping up this mask of myself to myself. It's really weird. And that is not going to get you anywhere. Journaling has to be the most like ugly, real, raw thing. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to find any real healing from it. And the second way that I think helps me to journal the most is using the Apple Journal app, the voice note function. So I don't really typically write down my thoughts journaling wise these days. I voice note at the end of most days. I will voice note about how I'm feeling. It will be really nice for me to look back on, and also it's almost just like therapy, like talking, physically speaking as opposed to just writing something down is so beneficial for your healing. Sometimes I'll be talking and then all of a sudden I'm talking about something from my childhood and I have no idea how I got there, but I think that has really helped me. Journaling in terms of affirmations is something I do physically on paper every morning. It's healing because it's building my self-concept. It's allowing me to see who I am truly and who I want to be before I've even started my day or when I'm ending my day. So I think that's also really powerful for healing, and it's something that you can use in so many different situations. Somebody asked about how to deal with feeling indecisive and consumed by deciding a career path. Once again, I've been here. Number one, you are not your career. We all hope that our job is going to be an extension of who we are, but if we don't even know who we are yet, it's okay to not know what your career is going to be. And above all, even when you have your dream job, you would be worthy without that job. Second is knowing that you can never make the wrong decision. Every single decision you make with your career will lead you exactly where you need to be. And you have to have that belief system in your early 20s. Otherwise, you will always feel like a failure. And putting pressure on yourself to make the right decision will only make that worse. Third is flipping your mindset from feeling behind. You cannot be behind in your own life. You may feel like you don't have your career sorted, you don't know what you're doing, and that is okay. It's okay to figure out who you are separately from your job, and I think it's essential that everyone does that. I left uni nearly 2 years ago and I've just started a job in my field. It felt like shit for that whole time leading up to it, doing random hospitality jobs. But actually, things that I learned in those hospitality jobs, I mentioned in my successful interview of the big girl job that I got. And that is when I was like, holy fuck, everything that's just happened in my life literally did lead me up to this point. It's very normal to feel like you don't know what you're doing with your career. And I also think it's important to feel like you don't know what you're doing with your career, because otherwise we are never going to get where we need to go. We have to explore so many different options, feel confused in order to know what it feels like to be on the right path. Somebody emailed over a dilemma, which I'm going to read to you guys. Hey Phoebe, I love your podcast and the advice you give. It always feels so honest and relatable. I'm really grateful you created Stargirl Society. If this story doesn't make the podcast, even just advice would mean the world. First of all, thank you very much. Love you. I wanted to write in because I've been dealing with a friendship situation for over a year now. I genuinely don't know how to handle it. I've used fake names for this story. Here's the situation. Last year, I joined an art class with one of my closest friends, Oliver. We've been friends since middle school and have a very sibling-like relationship. There's never been anything romantic between us. In that class, we became friends with a girl named Amelia. At first, she seemed great, friendly, well-liked, and easy to get along with. Over time, the three of us got close and she especially bonded with Oliver. But after a while, I started getting this strong gut feeling around her that something was off, even though I couldn't explain why. I felt anxious and uncomfortable around her, which confused me because she hadn't done anything obviously wrong. When I paid closer attention, I noticed some patterns. In conversation, she would rarely share anything personal about herself. She'd either redirect the conversation or just agree with whatever I said. I noticed small inconsistencies in things she said. At the same time, she became very close with Oliver. It became clear she had a crush on him and they started spending a lot of time together, texting, hanging out, going to concerts. He told me he didn't feel the same way, but they're still very close. At one point, I opened up to Oliver about my feelings and he admitted something about her was off, which made me feel less crazy. Even so, their closeness made me feel like a third wheel. During class trips and activities, I often felt off, like I was outside of their dynamic. It really affected my confidence and now I started feeling like I didn't belong. Now it's been over a year and while things are a bit better on the surface, my feelings haven't gone away. If anything, my resentment towards Amelia has grown and I don't like that about myself. What confuses me most is why I feel this way. I don't have romantic feelings for Oliver, but I can't tell if I'm jealous of their closeness, her social confidence, or just reacting to that original gut feeling I had about her. I feel stuck thinking about them, even though their relationship has nothing to do with me. I want to move on and focus on my life, but I keep getting pulled back into these thoughts and feelings. So my question is, how do I let go of this resentment and stop obsessing over a dynamic that isn't mine, especially when I still have to see them and be around them? So I think it's very normal to have friendship jealousy. It complicates things when it is a boy-girl friendship because you are like, I don't have feelings for him. You don't want anyone else to think that you have feelings for him. But especially when you have a really good dynamic, it can be really frustrating to see somebody else come into something and replicate that dynamic. Also, what I would say is don't doubt your gut feeling about this person. The way this viewer described not being able to shake off this feeling is something that us witchy, strong intuition girls will know. And my advice would be to communicate how you feel about being a third wheel. I think that's really important. And if Oliver reacts badly in that situation, then you should definitely take a step away because you don't deserve to be treated like that. When it comes to what to actually do about this girl, I think if you find your energy drained or it's too much of a mindfuck, definitely distance from her. And I will also say that time will tell. Often when we have these gut feelings about people, it's just a matter of time before things make sense. It sort of seems like there's a missing piece to your puzzle for this situation. And I know that's horrible advice to wait it out, but sometimes that's what we've got to do. And if it's bothering you too much in the meantime, or the communication with the guy doesn't go very well, then definitely distance yourself. Somebody said, how to get over a guy I never dated and nothing ever happened. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. I definitely have. Do not downplay the fact that nothing ever happened and you never dated someone. Our brains and our hearts don't know the difference between these socially constructed labels. Attachment is attachment. Whether or not there was a label on something, or whether or not this was about a person or the idea of a person and what they could bring to our lives, attachment is attachment, and do not downplay that to yourself. Whether that thing has ended or is still going on and you don't know how to move on from it, strongly suggest muting, blocking, deleting, whatever you can. If blocking or unfollowing feels like too much, just mute the person. Out of sight, out of mind. If you see this person a lot in person, that can be really difficult to move on from. I think it's important to channel the energy that you have into something else, not necessarily someone else, but into something else. If you have the ability to take a guy, for example, and you've never dated them, you've never admitted that you like them, but you always think about what your life could have been and your heart can't let go of that, that is a sign that you could be really loving and dedicated to something else. Take that energy that you have, put it into something else, put it into learning yourself, something new, a new hobby, or even a new friendship. Platonic connections can really replace romantic connections and romantic attachment better than we think. But most of all, just take your time and don't force yourself to move on just because it wasn't a real thing, because to your brain, it was real. That is where I'm going to leave off today's Q&A for your guys' dilemmas. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Follow if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you want me to do an episode like this in the future, then let me know. If you stayed to this point in the episode, comment down below the high-heeled shoe emoji. I just saw it behind me, that's why. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week in the next episode.